Hey y'all, hi. I'm Hannah Louise Poston, and today we're talking about the fact that your wardrobe has to be grounded in the practical reality of your life. Which means that if you're hoping to develop your style, like invest in a new piece this season, update your footwear or something, you have to start from a conscious and clear definition of the life you are actually living, not a fantasy of your life. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't push your boundaries a little bit. You can and must push your boundaries if your personal style is going to evolve. But if you lose the plot and buy things that are for your fantasy self instead of for your real life, then for a variety of reasons, the initiative will fail. I'm going to offer you 3 major considerations to help put you in touch with the reality of your life as it relates to fashion, the practical reality, and you can build on these and tailor this thinking to yourself. I hope you'll subscribe if you like it. I also hope you'll click through to the listing for my book, which I'll put in the description box down below. And let's get right into the meat of this video. So consideration number 1, your comfort zone. What is your existing comfort zone for personal style? What clothing is your default now? Like, what outfit do you sort of always end up wearing? The way to evolve your personal style is to know what you already wear naturally. Envision what you want to feel like in your clothes, like what you're aiming for, and then close the gap between those things. So here's an example. Let's say you get really hot in summer, like you have to wear shorts in order to be comfortable, but all you have is like a bunch of old hiking shorts that are sort of from a past phase of your life. And they fit well and they'd still be good for, outdoorsy activities, but you want more for yourself than always looking like an REI mannequin, perhaps. So you might theoretically aspire to really elegant, upscale, hot weather dressing, like drapey, wide leg, butter yellow linen pants, flowy, minimalist dresses. Like you look at people dressed like that and you think, wouldn't it be nice if I could dress that way? Or like part of you thinks that. And maybe you even once went out and bought a dress like that because there's a part of you that keeps thinking that, but you never wear it because that gap is just too big to bridge that fast for a lot of people. There might be some exceptions, but generally, I think that this happens a lot. So look for something that has a lot in common with what it is you already default to when you're getting dressed in the summer. Maybe some shorts that are a similar length to the shorts that you already always wear, the ones that you have that you've been wearing for years, a similar length, a fairly similar cut, but they're made out of a more polished fabric like linen. And maybe they're a touch more voluminous than your hiking shorts, just like 1 degree more exaggerated. And if you usually wear t-shirts in the summer, if it's usually like hiking shorts and a tee, but again, the t-shirts that you already have are quite basic and you always look like you're about to hit the trail instead of going to brunch, even when you are going to brunch. Just look for some shirts that are still t-shirts, but a little bit stronger in their point of view. That's a good way to think of it. Like maybe a slightly slouchier tee than the ones you usually wear, or a slightly cropped tee if you're usually wearing ones that hit right at the hip, but still recognizably a sibling of what is currently your default outfit. And to do this, you might have to go, it's like you're staying sort of inside your silhouette comfort zone, but you might have to go outside of your shopping comfort zone. Like one strategy is to go to a store or to a site that is just more style conscious than the places you usually shop. But look for your familiar silhouettes in that new environment. So if you usually shop at REI, but you go to Ozma and you get their hiking short length shorts and the slouchy raw silk tee, you're kind of just going to be wearing your same old uniform, but you are going to look and feel 1,000 times fresher. Or if you usually shop at J. Crew, but you go to COS and again, find your same knee-length shorts and this time maybe like a slightly more cropped and boxier t-shirt. It's your uniform, but it'll be more crisp, designed, and elevated. And this is just an example, right? This is where your work comes in. You have to think about your own default and apply the theory to yourself, extrapolate from there. Essentially, the advice is to shake shake off your patterns, try new things, but make use of what you know about your comfort zone to help yourself try new things that are definitely going to fit the practical reality of your life. And in this case, it's practical reality in a lot of logistical ways, but to me, the most basic is just like, will I wear it? Like, will I put it on my body? And if it's close enough to what you usually default to, you really increase your chances of actually putting it on your body when you get dressed in the morning. Because that's one of the practical realities of your life in fashion, your current comfort zone. And you have to negotiate with it instead of pretending that it doesn't exist. Because the only person for whom your comfort zone doesn't exist is your fantasy self. Okay, consideration number 2, footwear. Let us talk about the relationship between shoes and the practical reality of your life. These are the facts. Shoes can really ruin an outfit. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I always feel like I'm at kind of at my judgiest and most like fashion influencer-iness when I say it, but it is just empirically true, my friends. Shoes can really ruin an outfit, but you can't compromise on the functional requirements of your shoes. They simply have to be appropriate for the day that you're about to have. The amount of walking you're going to do, the environment that you are going to enter, the weather on any given day. Your shoes have got to be appropriate to all of those things. So before you buy shoes, be very clear with yourself about what you are going to be putting them through. It can even help to make a checklist. I feel like especially with shoes, it can help to write down. And the blueprint model of the hiking shorts can help too. Like, what are the shoes, in spite of what you dream of wearing and in spite of what you end up buying shoes-wise, what are the shoes that you always end up wearing or always end up having to wear because of the practical reality of your life? Why do you always end up wearing them? What is it about them that makes them your default? If you can answer that question, then you'll have the checklist that you need to apply to your future shoe purchases. And then to evolve your style, you have to find shoes that fit all of those same parameters and add aesthetic value to your outfits instead of being a disappointment, as so many shoes are. So once again, shoes that are like the ones that you always default to, but also add aesthetic value. Shoes are so visually impactful that sometimes they can do almost all of the heavy lifting in an outfit. So if you find a pair that checks all of those boxes and also really packs a punch in terms of aesthetic value, sometimes that means you can dial down all of what else you're doing when you get dressed. Good shoes can really do the most. And I am very grateful to be sponsored today by a shoe company, CVs, that essentially has this as their mission. So they make a full range of footwear, sneakers, mules, boots, slip-ons, all with the same sneaker level of comfort. For me, this mule has become a textbook illustration of the fashion concept I was just discussing. They are so comfortable and easy to slip on, so appropriate for so many settings. I find myself choosing them constantly. And then because of how they look, no matter what else I have on, they are like the bright spot, the sense of humor in the outfit, the effortless statement. But they're also rugged. They have like a supportive insole, they have a Vibram traction sole, they're comfortable with no break-in period. So they do both. I also love to wear this 90s inspired trainer, the CV's Acorn. This shoe has some height. It's like very fashion. The details are beyond reproach. I love the suede. But again, the comfort, the durability, the breathability, the bio-based memory foam insole. CV's has a cool brand story to it. It was originally launched in 1964 as one of the first casual comfort sneakers in history. Like a true trailblazer. But then the brand disappeared for 40 years until it was rediscovered quite literally by a shoe designer who was vintage shopping in Tokyo and discovered an old CV shoe and decided to resuscitate the brand. That was in 2005. So the brand has now been brought back to life, and it's all been done with a lot of heart and consideration for that intersection between fashion and function. So it really gets me where I live. These two pairs of CVs have integrated seamlessly into my wardrobe. But I also feel like this brand's mission serves to illustrate the point that I was already making in this video. So I'm like talking about the shoes, but I also feel like even in talking about them, I'm continuing to share information with you about how to make a smart choice when you're choosing footwear that actually makes sense for the practical reality of your life, as we've been talking about this whole video. Because shoes can be tough. They're so important to your everyday life, everything about your everyday life, and they can be so tough. And I actually love thinking about shoe theory for that reason. They are the epitome of this kind of problem solving that always goes on for stylish people. You always have to negotiate the practical constraints of your life. And then the question just becomes, how do you do that while also wearing beautiful pieces that have that energy, that have that je ne sais quoi, that make you feel embodied and balanced? I think that the real mistake comes when you forget the very first part. You seek the rest, the beautiful things, embodied, balanced energy, but you forget that you always have to negotiate the practical reality of your life. And then when it comes time to get dressed, you get stuck. Apropos of that, but also kind of a deepening and complicating of that, our third and final topic, laundry. So much clothing falls through the cracks of a life, doesn't get worn, gets ruined, or becomes a kind of pitiful version of itself because someone failed to consider this aspect of practical reality before making a clothing purchase. So, how do you clean your clothes? Do you have a dry cleaning routine? Do you iron? How willing are you to hang something up to dry instead of just tossing it in the dryer? How willing are you to spend time when you're hanging something up to dry, pulling the seams taut and straight and restructuring it? In reality, like in your practical reality, how willing are you to do that? Do you separate your laundry or do you wash all of the colors together? If you always only wash all of the colors together, you should probably only buy clothes that won't suffer from that. So that means don't buy anything white and probably don't buy anything black, because black clothing will make all the other colors, including gray, kind of dingy. And even more granular, how do you feel about wearing clothes when they have received the treatment that you give them with your wash routine? So how do you feel about wearing slightly wrinkled linen, for example? Like if you wash a linen shirt and then you hang it to dry and you don't iron it and it has that slight crinkle, that like natural texture, do you love that and relish the feel of putting it on because you're like, oh, this is what linen is supposed to look like? Or does it feel like that is not polished enough for you and it's messy for you, and then you're not going to want to wear it? If that's you, if it's not polished enough for you, then you have to either iron your clothes routinely, get a laundry service, iron your clothes for you, or not buy the linen shirt. Those are your only three options. But in order to know that when you're standing there in the store with this beautiful wrinkle-free linen shirt in your hand, and you want to buy that, in order to know that, you have to know what you do to wash your clothes, and you have to take a moment to envision what the linen shirt is going to look like on the other side of that process, and whether or not that's going to be acceptable to you. Every garment that you own has to be a good fit for your personal garment cleansing methods and routines. That might sound obvious when I say it out loud, but I think that for a lot of people, they accidentally collect garments that don't fit their laundry lifestyle. And then those garments languish. And then it's like your closet has this wilted, sort of poorly functioning limb. When you start to tailor your wardrobe to the practical reality of your laundry life, it's possible that things will change a little bit for you. Like what you wear, what you buy, and really even how you conceive of your personal style, like what you aspire to. Really being in touch with how you clean your clothes and what that implies, it can cause a seismic shift in your personal style. It's not just a side note, it's no small thing. Because the whole point of this is to aspire to something that is realistic. To have your personal style, the one that you are creating, be something that meshes with your actual life instead of something that you secretly and misguidedly think will rescue you from the life that you are currently leading or like change your life. So hopefully this video will have given you a new way to think about that project, the project of your personal style, because you deserve to get that power and that joy from fashion in the context of the life that you already have. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I hope you'll subscribe and stick around. I have a couple of other videos on this topic. I'll try to remember to link them in the cards and link them down below. How to match your wardrobe to your lifestyle, etc. And no matter what, don't forget to take some time this week to sit quietly with yourself and figure out what it would mean to actually take really good care of yourself.